person does not realize they need care, it's inhumane to allow them to stay in that condition. And January, February, the first year of my administration, I sent a message out to the team. We are not going to walk by people, and we're not going to have city where people are sleeping on long highways, under underpass and train stations. And the message was clear.
There's nothing humane about that. Rev and I have talked about that all the time.
Yeah.
People are, oh, it's inhumane that you don't just let people sleep on grates when it's 0 degrees. I mean, it's insanity that some left-wing radicals have decided that letting the mentally ill sleep on sidewalks is somehow humane.
And they sued us, they attacked us, they criticized us, but look at our city. It doesn't exist. And those 3 areas, you're right, this is what tourists have the perception of. Severe mental health illness. If you don't start removing and giving people the care they deserve, that's going to be an impression of your city. And then we have recidivism. These repeated offenders. The person who shot Detective Jonathan Dillard, he was arrested 20 times. And each time you see these repeated offenders, it hurts us a lot. And then random acts of violence. Those are the overshadowing messages. But when you look at this city, we're the safest big city in America.
No doubt about it. One final question. You talk about recidivism. Are you finally getting the cooperation that you need from Albany, from City Council, from others about this sort of revolving door that was created on the bail issue?
We should be doing so much more, particularly discovery. And attorneys that understand this, they know what discovery is doing. But Bill Clinton once said to me that I live by, no one elected you to define the problem. They elected you to solve the problem. I'm solving the problem. The city's not coming back. The city's back.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being with us. Greatly appreciate it. Mika.
All right, in a moment, we'll speak with Democratic governors Andy Beshear of Kentucky and Roy Cooper of North Carolina amid speculation they're on the list of potential running mates for Kamala Harris. But first, one of President Joe Biden's closest allies, Congressman Jim Clyburn, is endorsing Kamala Harris for the Democratic nomination. In a statement, Clyburn, who played a crucial role in President Biden's 2020 victory, thanked the president for his years of service. And for more on that, Congressman Clyburn joins us now. Thank you so much for coming on Morning Joe this morning, sir. Congressman, if you could talk, I'm sure you would like to say a few words about your friend, Joe Biden, and then take us forward. Tell us why you believe Kamala Harris can prosecute the case against Donald Trump.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Mika. You know, Joe Biden I've known for a long, long time. We started developing a relationship over our efforts to really make Brown v. Board of Education work. And we talked about the similarities in our states. South Carolina and Delaware were 2 of the 5 states that give us Brown v. Board of Education. And we learned a lot about each other, about our states, our constituents, and we started developing ways to go about addressing those issues. I found in him to be one of the most selfless public servants I'd ever dealt with. A real patriot when it comes to what this country is all about, and one who understood government almost vicariously. You could talk to him about an issue, he could give you a proposed resolution that seemed almost effortless. And so I think all this foolishness about him not being able to serve out his term is craziness. It's a big difference in running the government and running the campaign. Joe Biden was not up to what it took to respond to sound bites when you're trying to solve problems around the world. He is a great problem solver, and I believe he will go down in history as one of the best and most consequential presidents we've ever had. I've heard you all mentioning Harry Truman this morning. I used to tease him very often. I would go into to the Oval Office, and he would have all these big pictures of Kennedy and other people, and then there was a little bust of Harry Truman. And I would always say to him, I think Truman needs to be much more prominent in this office. Because if you really think about it, your route to the presidency and you as a public servant, you are much more akin to Harry Truman than any of the other previous presidents. And so I was glad to see the last time I had lunch with him, we were in the little lunchroom there off of the Oval Office, and he had this big portrait of Harry Truman in there. I'm taking credit for that, whether I deserve it or not.
I love it. I love it. Let me ask you about Vice President Harris. I know you're endorsing her. We've talked about earlier Joe Biden and a book called What It Takes, Richard Ben Kramer's book about what it takes to be president of the United States. Why do you think Kamala Harris has what it takes to be the next president of the United States?
You know, I watched Kamala during the 2020 primary. I knew her. I went out to California at an event when she was running for Attorney General of California, and I've been following her ever since. When she came to South Carolina in that primary, she was a fierce debater. In fact, when I finished this book that I'm currently working on, in the epilogue of this book, it's going to be an incident that took place after that debate when she absolutely floored Joe Biden with one little comment that I had a hard time trying to help overcome. And we did. We were able to respond to that, and I'm going to write about that. She can debate. I would look forward to seeing her and 45 on the stage in the debate. She knows what debating is all about, and she is well equipped to prosecute. I'm going to emphasize, to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. He has lost to all the prosecutors he's gone up against thus far. He's going to lose going up against this one.
Congressman Clyburn, as you know, I was there the day you turned the campaign around for Joe Biden in Charleston, South Carolina. You and he came to one of our National Action Network ministers' breakfast, and you told me I'm going to endorse him, and that endorsement really turned him around. But more important than the politics, the things that President Biden, with your help, and with Vice President Harris has done around the last 3.5 years around inflation reduction, around infrastructure rebuilding, around voting rights, the George Floyd executive order. I mean, these kinds of things are really at threat to being eradicated, if not overturned, if Donald Trump is elected. Tell people, talk to our viewers about how this is really a real showdown election between what way this country is going to go in terms of women's rights, civil rights, voting rights. And Kamala Harris embodies and has been a co-pilot in fighting in what you and I would call the right direction to be taken by this country.
This president rescued this economy. He did so with the Rescue Act. He repaired what this country is all about, demonstrating that with this infrastructure bill. Not just roads and bridges and water and sewage, you're getting rid of lead pipe, but putting in broadband internet into homes all over America. Here in South Carolina, we're going to build out 100% by this time next year because of Joe Biden. But on top of all of that, my dad just tell me all the time, son, if you got your health, you can really function properly. Well, he tackled healthcare in a way that nobody else had. People focus on the rising price of food, yes, but he countered that. He couldn't do anything about those grocery prices, but he could do something about the pharmaceutical prices. And he drove down the price of pharmaceuticals in a way that no president has ever done. And once again, when Harry Truman left the presidency, he said the one thing that he regretted was not being able to deliver a universal health care to everybody. Joe Biden took up that mantle, passed through Barack Obama with the Affordable Care Act, And look what he did. Starting January, $2,000 a year would be the max that people on Medicare will be paying for pharmaceuticals, no matter if the medicine costs $10,000 a month. He has done what is necessary to put a ceiling on the cost of insulin. My late wife was paying $600 a month for her insulin, for being a 4-shot-a-day diabetic. That today, the top $35 a month. So if you take it in silos, it's one thing. But if you take it all together, I'm not being able to control grocery prices over here, but I can do something about medicine over here. And that was a net benefit to every family across America. Joe Biden has done it for the individuals. He's done it for the families. And he's done it for the communities all across this country. And look at what we're doing with the internet to bear that out.
Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, one of the most influential voices in the Democratic Party. Congressman, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
And joining us now is the Democratic governor of the state of Kentucky, Andy Beshear. Governor, thanks for being with us. First, your reaction to the news that came down yesterday of President Biden stepping aside. And secondly, do you endorse Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. I want to thank President Biden for being a phenomenal president. He led us out of a pandemic faster than we have ever seen. He showed up in Kentucky after natural disasters and has helped us rebuild. He's helped us build the best economy in our history, building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth, the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill we've ever seen, creating jobs all over Kentucky and providing the funding to run internet access to every home and every business. His decision, I know, was hard, but it's going to secure his legacy that I believe historians are going to say was a great presidency. With that, I'm excited to fully endorse Vice President Harris as for the next president of the United States. The vice president is smart and strong, which will make her a good president, but she's also kind and has empathy, which can make her a great president. And the contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer. As a prosecutor, as an attorney general like I used to be, she prosecuted rapists, domestic abusers, stood for victims, and put away those abusers. Now look at the other side, where J.D. Vance calls pregnancy arising from rape inconvenient. No, it's just plain wrong. He suggests that women should stay in abusive relationships. Listen, a domestic abuser isn't a man, he's a monster, and no one should support anyone having to stay in those relationships. So the vice president is ready. She has my full endorsement. I'm going to do everything I can to support her.
All right, some news this morning here. Full endorsement from Governor Beshear of Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. As you know very well, Governor, because of your record of being elected and reelected as a Democrat in the state of Kentucky, which Donald Trump won in 2020 by about 26 points, people are very interested in you and your future in politics. Has anyone reached out to you from the new Harris campaign about the potential for being the vice presidential candidate, her running mate?
Well, I don't know how